Captain Sarah Chen stood behind the energy barrier, watching aliens in silver suits crawl over her ship like insects on a carcass. The Prometheus Dawn sat in the impound bay of Arcturus 7, locked down and powerless. Massive clamps held it in place, and a web of alien technology covered its hull, monitoring every system, every circuit, every breath of air inside. 3 months had passed since the Galactic Council declared her ship too dangerous to fly. "They're in the engine room again," Chief Engineer Marcus Webb said beside her. His jaw was tight, hands clenched behind his back. "4th time this week. They keep taking samples of the quantum fusion core." Sarah watched a tall insectoid Vryn scientist gesture at the drive section with 3 of its 4 arms. Even from here, she could see its mandibles clicking, and what she had learned was their version of laughter. They thought human technology was a joke, crude, primitive, dangerous in the way a child with a hammer was dangerous. The council chambers had made their position clear during the hearing 2 months ago. Ambassador Theron of the Valorian Empire had spoken in that musical, condescending tone of his. Humanity achieved faster-than-light travel through brute force, not understanding. Your quantum fusion drive operates at energy levels that violate 3 different safety treaties. You built a bomb and called it an engine. Sarah had tried to explain. They engineered for survival, not efficiency. They built redundancies because space was hostile and unforgiving. They made their ships strong because weak ships got people killed. The council didn't listen. They saw only what they wanted to see. A primitive species that stumbled into technology they couldn't properly control. Dangerous children who needed to be educated before they hurt themselves or others. "Captain." Dr. Yuki Tanaka approached from the detention wing corridor. The xenobiologist looked tired but alert. "I had another session with the council's review board. Same questions. How did we achieve quantum fusion synchronization? What fail-safes do we have? Why are our power conduits 3 times thicker than necessary? What did you tell them?" Sarah asked. "The truth. That we build everything 3 times stronger than it needs to be because we learned that's how you survive when things go wrong." Yuki smiled slightly. They wrote it down as excessive engineering due to incomplete theoretical understanding. Lieutenant James Rodriguez joined them at the barrier. The security officer had been mapping the station during their detention, memorizing patrol routes and security patterns. Old military habits died hard. "They don't get it," Rodriguez said quietly. "None of them do. I've been watching their ships come and go. Beautiful designs, elegant, efficient, every system perfectly calibrated for optimal performance. And," Sarah prompted, "and they're fragile. I checked the public specs. Their ships operate at 97% efficiency. Ours run at 65%. They think that makes us primitive." Rodriguez shook his head. "They don't understand that the other 35% is what keeps us alive when everything goes to hell." Sarah had noticed the same thing. The Galactic Council represented 20 different species, each more advanced than humanity by centuries or millennia. Their technology was incredible. Their ships could cross the galaxy in days. Their weapons could crack planets. Their shields could stop anything conventional, but everything was specialized, optimized, built for a civilized galaxy where everyone followed the rules. Humanity didn't grow up in that galaxy. They grew up fighting gravity, vacuum, radiation, and each other. They built things that worked when they shouldn't, that survived when they had no right to, that could be fixed with spare parts and determination. "I made a friend," Yuki said casually. "Junior technician named Kelleth, Valorian. Very curious about human culture." Sarah raised an eyebrow. Making friends wasn't like Yuki unless there was a purpose. Kelleth works in station systems monitoring. Very talkative after a few drinks. "Did you know their power grid operates on a centralized distribution model? Single point of coordination for maximum efficiency." Webb caught on immediately. "Single point of failure." "Exactly," Yuki confirmed. "And their security systems? Biometric locks keyed to specific species' electromagnetic signatures. Very secure. Unless someone introduces an unexpected variable." Sarah felt something stir in her chest. Hope, maybe? Or just the old military instinct that said you never stopped planning, never stopped preparing, never accepted defeat until you were dead. "We're being watched," she said quietly. "Everything we do is monitored." "Of course," Yuki agreed. "But they're watching for escape attempts, for violence, for humans being dangerous in the ways they expect." She smiled. "They're not watching for us learning, understanding, adapting." Rodriguez nodded slowly. "They think we're contained. They think they've neutralized the threat. Have they? Webb asked. Sarah looked at her ship. The Prometheus Dawn had carried them across space that no human had seen before. It had survived stellar radiation, asteroid impacts, and a dozen equipment failures. It was overbuilt, redundant, and inelegant. It was human. They shut down our ship, Sarah said quietly. Locked it down because they called it powerful. They were afraid of what it could do. She turned to her crew. They should have been afraid of what we could do. With or without it, Webb grinned. Rodriguez cracked his knuckles. Yuki pulled out a small data pad filled with station schematics and security protocols. The Council thought they had contained humanity's danger by impounding their ship. They were about to learn that the ship was never the dangerous part. The dangerous part was standing in detention, watching, learning, and planning. Humans were very good at planning. The Council's chief scientist, a crystalline being named Sheriff, walked through the Prometheus Dawn's engineering section with barely concealed disgust. Its geometric body refracted light in patterns that human translators interpreted as disapproval. Primitive, it announced to its research team. Look at these power conduits, 30 centimeters thick when 15 would suffice. Wasted materials, wasted space, inefficient. A Vrin technician clicked its mandibles in agreement. The structural supports are equally excessive. They've reinforced the hull with triple-layered titanium alloys. Any modern civilization would use force field reinforcement. Much lighter, much more efficient. Sheriff moved to the quantum fusion core, the heart of the ship that had caused so much concern. And yet somehow this generates power outputs 15% higher than our theoretical maximums. How? The Vrin ran another scan. Unknown. The humans refuse to explain their synchronization method. They claim it's proprietary technology. More likely they don't understand it themselves, Sheriff said. They stumbled onto a working configuration through trial and error. Dangerous, unscientific. What none of them realized was that every conversation, every scan, every dismissive comment was being recorded. The Prometheus Dawn's internal systems were locked down, but passive sensors still functioned. And humans were very good at listening. In detention, Marcus Webb reviewed the data on a hidden screen built into his prosthetic arm. Modern medical technology, the Council had scanned it and declared it safe. They never checked if it could receive transmissions from the ship. They still don't get it, he muttered, scrolling through the Council scientist's notes. They think our power conduits are thick because we're stupid. They don't realize they're thick because we can reroute power through any of 6 different pathways if the primary fails. Yuki looked over his shoulder. What about the core analysis? They're trying to figure out how we achieve higher output. They keep testing for exotic particles or quantum fluctuations. Webb smiled. They'll never find them. Because they don't exist? Because we don't use exotic physics. We use brute force and precise timing. Our synchronization method is mechanical, not theoretical. You can't scan for it because there's nothing exotic to scan. Rodriguez entered the common area of their detention suite. Patrol change just happened. 30 seconds late. That's the 4th time this week. They're getting sloppy. Or comfortable, Sarah said from where she sat reviewing star charts. They think we're contained. Not a threat. She stood and walked to the window overlooking the impound bay. More alien scientists swarmed over her ship. They were documenting everything, taking samples, running tests. Learning all about human technology. They thought they were studying a primitive ship. They didn't realize they were revealing their own weaknesses. Yuki, what did your friend Kelleth tell you about Council military doctrine? Sarah asked. The xenobiologist pulled up her notes. Standard engagement protocols emphasize precision strikes and minimal collateral damage. Their ships are designed for surgical warfare, target the enemy's power core, disable their weapons, force surrender. Very civilized. Casualties? They consider more than 2% casualties in any engagement to be unacceptable. Wars are fought with minimal loss of life. It's been that way for thousands of years. Webb laughed bitterly. They've forgotten what real war looks like. Sarah thought about human history. Messy, brutal, desperate. Humans fought wars where victory meant survival and defeat meant extinction. They didn't have the luxury of surgical strikes and acceptable casualty rates. They had the reality of doing whatever it took to win. What about their ships? Sarah asked. Weaknesses? Rodriguez had been compiling data from public sources and casual conversations. Their shields are incredible against directed energy weapons. Their armor is designed to deflect particle beams and plasma. Their targeting systems can track thousands of individual targets. But, Sarah prompted, but everything is optimized for specific threats. Their shields are weak against kinetic impacts because nobody uses kinetic weapons anymore. Too primitive. Too unpredictable. Their armor is thin because energy weapons don't require thick plating. Their targeting systems prioritize larger ships because small craft aren't considered dangerous. Sarah felt pieces clicking together in her mind. The Council built their military for the galaxy they lived in, civilized, regulated, predictable. Humanity built for the galaxy they survived, hostile, unforgiving, chaotic. They think we're primitive because we use railguns instead of particle beams, Webb said, because we have thick armor instead of shields, because we overbuilt everything. We're not primitive, Sarah corrected. We're practical. We use what works, not what's elegant. Over the next week, they continued learning. Yuki's friendship with Kelleth provided insights into station systems. Rodriguez's observations revealed security patterns. Webb's hidden connection to the ship gave them detailed information on every test the Council performed. The Council scientists found human technology fascinating and frustrating. Nothing worked the way it should. The quantum fusion core couldn't be properly analyzed because its function depended on mechanical synchronization, not quantum effects. The power systems were impossible to optimize because they were deliberately overbuilt with redundancies. The structural integrity was excessive by any reasonable standard. Sheriff filed a report calling human engineering a triumph of persistence over understanding. The Council's military advisors reviewed the Prometheus, Dawn's weapon systems, and declared them outdated. Railguns firing metal slugs, missile tubes launching chemical explosives, point defense cannons using kinetic projectiles. Nothing exotic, nothing impressive. Admiral Vector of the Valorian fleet summarized it perfectly. The human ship is a relic. It would be easily destroyed in any modern combat scenario. Their only danger comes from their reckless use of their fusion drive. With that locked down, they pose no threat. Sarah read that assessment and smiled. They had no idea. The Council saw what they expected to see: primitive technology, excessive engineering, and dangerous ignorance. They cataloged human weaknesses and dismissed human strengths. They were studying the ship. They should have been studying the crew. Because humans weren't dangerous because of their technology. They were dangerous because they never stopped adapting, never stopped learning, and never stopped finding new ways to survive. The Council had 3 months to learn about the Prometheus Dawn. The crew had 3 months to learn about the Council. And when the crisis came, everyone would discover who had learned the more valuable lessons. The alarm started at 0300 station time, not the gentle chimes that announced scheduled maintenance or routine drills. These were the screaming, urgent warnings that meant something had gone catastrophically wrong. Sarah was awake instantly, military instincts pulling her from sleep to full alertness in seconds. Rodriguez was already at the window looking out at the impound bay. Contacts, he said tersely. Lots of them, coming in fast from the outer rim. Through the window, Sarah could see Council warships scrambling. Beautiful, elegant vessels shaped like teardrops and crescents, their hulls gleaming with force fields and energy signatures. They moved with grace, forming defensive patterns around the station. Then the enemy arrived. They weren't ships in any conventional sense. They were organic, twisted things that pulsed and writhed through space, thousands of them, each the size of a fighter craft moving in massive swarms that blocked out the stars. Krell, Webb said, accessing station communications through his hidden receiver. The swarm. Council thought they were contained in the outer territories. Yuki pulled up what little information she had gathered about the Krell, an insectoid species that rejected technology for biological adaptation. They grew their ships, bred their weapons, evolved their armor. The Council had fought them twice in the past 1,000 years, winning both times through superior firepower and coordination. But that was before the Krell adapted, before they evolved. The first wave hit the Council's defensive line. Energy weapons lit up space like a festival. Particle beams lanced through the void. Plasma cannons fired in coordinated volleys. The Council ships fought with precision and discipline, their targeting systems tracking hundreds of individual Krell bioships. It wasn't enough. The Krell didn't fight with tactics. They fought with numbers. For every bioship the Council destroyed, 5 more took its place. They swarmed over the elegant warships, overwhelming point defense systems through sheer volume. Sarah watched a Valorian cruiser disappear beneath a cloud of Krell fighters. Its shields flared, held, then failed. The bioships tore into the hull with organic weapons that the Council's armor wasn't designed to withstand. "They're not stopping them," Rodriguez said. Station-wide communications crackled to life. Ambassador Theron's voice, no longer musical and condescending, now tight with barely controlled panic. "All Council military forces, engage at will. Priority defense of Station Arcturus 7. All civilians proceed to evacuation shelters immediately." But there weren't enough shelters. Sarah could see it in the chaos spreading through the station corridors visible from their detention area. Millions of beings from 20 different species all trying to evacuate at once, and the Krell kept coming. Another Council warship exploded, its fusion core breaching in a flash of light. The defensive line was collapsing. The station's shields were holding, but already Sarah could see fluctuations where Krell bioships were testing for weaknesses. Webb's face was grim. "The Council's ships are built for precision warfare. One-on-one combat. Surgical strikes. The Krell are overwhelming them through pure numbers." "How long until the shields fail?" Sarah asked. 30 minutes. Maybe less. Sarah made a decision. She walked to the detention field and called out to the nearest guard, a young Valorian officer who looked terrified. "I need to speak to Admiral Vector. Now." "The Admiral is commanding the defense." "The defense is failing," Sarah interrupted. "And when those shields fall, everyone on this station dies. Including you. Get me the Admiral or accept that you're going to die in the next half hour." The guard hesitated, then spoke into his communicator. Sarah waited, watching the battle intensify. The Krell were learning, adapting. They started focusing their swarms on individual ships, ignoring the others to overwhelm them one at a time. 5 minutes later, Admiral Vector's face appeared on a screen. He looked exhausted. "Captain Chen, if you're requesting evacuation priority, I'm requesting you release my ship and let us fight." Silence. Behind Vector, Sarah could see the chaos of the command center. Officers shouting. Displays showing the deteriorating tactical situation. "Your ship is locked down," Vector said finally. "And even if I released it, your primitive weapons would be ineffective against an enemy that's beating you." Sarah interrupted. "Admiral, you're losing. Your ships are designed for a type of warfare the Krell aren't fighting. You're using precision against chaos. It's not working. And you believe your ship would make a difference? I believe we'll make a difference. Release the Prometheus Dawn. Give us full access to our systems except the fusion drive. You can keep that locked if it makes you feel safer." Vector's crystalline eyes studied her. "Why would you help?" "We impounded your ship, detained your crew." Sarah smiled without humor. "Because if we don't, everyone dies. And because you're about to learn what humans are really good at." Another explosion lit up space. Another Council ship gone. The station shook as a swarm of Krell bioships broke through the defensive line and slammed into the outer shields. Vector made his decision. Release the Prometheus Dawn. Unlock all systems except the primary drive. "Captain Chen, if you betray this trust, we won't," Sarah said simply. "We're going to save your station. Then we're going to show you what dangerous really means." The detention fields dropped. Sarah and her crew ran toward the impound bay. Around them, the station shook with impacts. Shields were failing. The Krell were getting through. They reached the Prometheus Dawn and sealed themselves inside. Sarah dropped into the captain's chair while Webb rushed to engineering, Rodriguez to weapons, and Yuki to sensors. "Systems coming online," Webb reported. "Everything except the main drive. We've got maneuvering thrusters and auxiliary power." "Weapons?" Sarah asked. "Railguns operational. Missiles loaded. Point defense ready." Rodriguez sounded hungry. "Captain, we're running on 40% power. We're slow. We're limited." Through the view screen, Sarah watched the Krell swarm attacking another Council ship. She watched their patterns, their movements, the way they overwhelmed through numbers and chaos. The Council fought them with order and precision. Sarah was about to show them a different way. "Release docking clamps," she ordered. "All hands, battle stations. Webb, I need you to make our ship do things it wasn't designed to do." Webb laughed over the comm. "Captain, that's what humans are best at." The Prometheus Dawn launched into hell. The Council was fighting to survive. The humans were fighting to win, and the galaxy was about to learn the difference. The Prometheus Dawn moved into the battle like a wounded animal, slow and heavy on maneuvering thrusters alone. To the Council's sensors, it looked crippled, limited, no threat. The Krell thought the same thing. A swarm of bioships peeled off from their attack on a Vryn destroyer and came straight at the human vessel. 50, maybe 60 organic fighters, their hulls pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that served as communication. Contact in 20 seconds, Rodriguez reported. They're not even trying to evade. They think we're easy prey. Let them think that, Sarah said calmly. Web status on my request? Rerouting power from life support to deflector arrays, the engineer responded. Captain, this is insane. We're going to overload every circuit in the grid. Will it work? Once, maybe twice before the system burns out. That's all I need. Rodriguez, hold fire. Let them get close. The Krell swarm closed in. 15 seconds. 10. The Council ships were pulling back, giving the Prometheus Dawn space, probably expecting it to be overwhelmed and destroyed within minutes. 5 seconds. The Krell were close enough that Sarah could see the organic weapons charging on their hulls. Now, she ordered. Webb triggered the modified deflector array. Instead of projecting a protective field around the ship, it released all its stored energy in a single omnidirectional pulse. An electromagnetic wave that fried electronics and scrambled biological nervous systems alike. The Krell swarm went dark. 56 bioships suddenly dead in space, their navigation systems overloaded, their biological pilots stunned. Railguns, fire at will. Sarah commanded. Rodriguez had been waiting for this. The point defense cannons opened up, filling space with kinetic rounds. Not elegant, not precise, just chunks of metal moving at relativistic speeds. The Krell bioships had evolved armor to deflect energy weapons. They had adapted shields that dispersed plasma and particle beams. They had no defense against old-fashioned bullets. The swarm disintegrated. Bioships shattered under kinetic impacts. Organic hulls ruptured. In 15 seconds, the threat was eliminated. On the Council command frequency, there was stunned silence. Then Admiral Vector's voice, uncertain. Captain Chen, what did you just do? Something you wouldn't think of because it's not efficient, Sarah replied. We don't build elegant ships, Admiral. We build flexible ones. Rodriguez, next target. 3 swarms attacking the station's shield generators. Port side sections 12 through 15. Helm, bring us around. Webb, can you give me that pulse again? Negative. Circuits are fried, but I have something else. Remember how they criticized our structural reinforcement? Sarah smiled. I remember. The Prometheus Dawn turned ponderously toward the station. 3 Krell swarms were hammering at the shield generators, trying to create a breach. Council ships were firing at range, afraid to get too close to the station. Sarah took her ship right into the middle of the swarm. Brace for impact, she announced. The Prometheus Dawn, overbuilt and excessively reinforced, used its own hull as a battering ram. It plowed through the Krell bioships like they were paper. Triple-layered titanium alloy, dismissed as primitive by Council scientists, shrugged off organic weapons. The ship's mass and momentum turned it into a kinetic weapon itself. Krell bioships crumpled against the human vessel. Others tried to attach themselves to the hull, only to be scraped off against the station's shields. Damage report, Sarah called out. Hull scoring on sections 4 and 7. Nothing critical. Those excessive structural supports are holding, Webb replied, and she could hear the grin in his voice. Captain, Yuki interrupted from sensors, I've hacked into the station's defense grid. I can coordinate our attacks with the Council fleet if they'll listen. Admiral Vector, you hearing this? Sarah asked. We're listening, Captain, the Admiral replied. His tone had changed. Less condescending. More respectful. Maybe even a little afraid. Then listen carefully. Your ships are better than ours, faster, more powerful. But you're fighting the wrong kind of battle. The Krell don't care about your precision. They overwhelm you with numbers. You need to change tactics. We don't have tactics for this kind of warfare, Vector admitted. We do. Yuki, transmit human military tactical doctrine to the fleet. Rodriguez, teach them how we fight. Rodriguez opened a channel to all Council ships. Forget about surgical strikes. Forget about acceptable casualties. When you're outgunned and outnumbered, you use everything as a weapon. Your shields? Recalibrate them to project outward as a ram. Your engines? Overload them for burst speed, even if it damages the system. Your life support? Vent it for emergency thrust. There was hesitation on the council channels. Then a Vryn cruiser commander, her ship badly damaged, decided she had nothing to lose. She reconfigured her shields as Rodriguez suggested, and charged straight into a Krell swarm. The projected shield bubble crushed bioships like insects. It worked. Other ships started adapting. A Valorian destroyer vented its atmosphere to change trajectory, dodging a concentrated Krell attack. A crystalline dreadnought overloaded its engines to ram through a swarm formation. The council fleet was learning to fight ugly, to fight desperate, to fight human. Captain Massive Krell formation coming around the station's dark side, Yuki warned. At least 300 bioships. They're going for the main reactor. If the station's reactor went, everyone died. Webb, I need options, Sarah said. We've got missiles, chemical explosives. Very primitive, will they work? Against bioships? Absolutely. But we only have 16 missiles, not enough for 300 targets, Sarah thought fast. The council ships were scattered, regrouping after adopting human tactics. They couldn't get there in time. The Prometheus Dawn was still slow, still limited without its main drive. Then she remembered what Ambassador Theron had said 3 months ago. You built a bomb and called it an engine. Webb, the quantum fusion drive. It's still locked, right? Yes, council controls keep it from activating. But it's charged? It has fuel? Full charge. It's ready to fire. They just won't let us initiate the sequence. Sarah smiled. We don't need to initiate the sequence. We just need to make them think we're trying to. Rodriguez, target the lead Krell formation. Get me a firing solution for all missiles. On it. Yuki, send a priority message to Admiral Vector. Tell him we're going to do something incredibly dangerous and stupid and he should probably evacuate the station. Captain, what are you planning? Vector's voice cut in, sharp with alarm. You locked down our drive because you thought it was too dangerous. You were right. If I can't use it to fly, I'll use it as a bomb. The quantum fusion core will breach in approximately 90 seconds if I override the safeties. That will destroy your ship. It'll also create a shockwave that will fry every Krell bioship within 5 kilometers. Worth it. Silence on the channel. Then, you're bluffing. Admiral, we're human. We survive by being willing to do what others wouldn't. Fire everything we have, then blow ourselves up to take the enemy with us. That's just Tuesday for us, more silence. Sarah counted down in her head. 60 seconds, then Vector. Wait, we're unlocking the drive. Full access. Just don't blow up my station. Wasn't planning to, Sarah said. Webb, main drive is yours, or drive online. Captain, we've got full power. The Prometheus Dawn surged forward. No longer slow. No longer limited. The quantum fusion drive that the Council feared roared to life, pushing the ship to speeds that made the Council vessels look stationary. Sarah flew straight at the Krell formation. At the last second, she cut the drive and rolled the ship. Rodriguez fired all 16 missiles point-blank into the swarm. The explosions created a chain reaction through the tightly packed bioships. Chemical explosives, primitive, effective. The formation shattered, the battle was over. The council chambers were quieter than Sarah had ever heard them. No musical voices discussing philosophy, no condescending debates about primitive species. Just silence as 20 different alien species looked at the human captain standing before them. The Prometheus Dawn floated outside the station, scarred and battered but intact. Held together by emergency welds, spare parts, and what Webb called stubbornness made manifest. The ship had been through hell and somehow survived, because that's what human ships did. Ambassador Theron spoke first, his crystalline form refracting light in patterns that Sarah's translator read as uncertainty. The Council has reviewed the battle recordings. Your tactics were effective. Effective, Sarah repeated. That's one word for it. Brutal would be another, Admiral Vector said. The Valorian military commander looked tired. His elegant uniform was scorched. His ship had survived, but barely. You used your vessel as a weapon. Multiple times. You overloaded systems that took us centuries to perfect. You turned life support into thrust vectoring. We did what was necessary to win, Sarah replied simply. You threatened to detonate your own fusion core as a bomb. I was bluffing. Mostly. Sarah met the Admiral's gaze. But you didn't know that. And neither did the Krell. Sometimes the threat of doing something crazy is as good as actually doing it. Shareth, the crystalline scientist who had studied the Prometheus Dawn, spoke up. Its voice patterns showed confusion. Your engineering makes no sense. You waste materials. You build in redundancies that reduce efficiency. Your weapons are primitive. Your tactics are reckless. And yet you succeeded where our advanced technology failed. That's because you don't understand what we built our ship for, Webb said from beside Sarah. The engineer had insisted on coming to the council hearing. You build for the galaxy as it should be. We build for the galaxy as it is. Explain, Sheriff demanded. Sarah stepped forward. 3 months ago you impounded our ship. You called it powerful and locked it down because you were afraid. You were right to be afraid, but you were afraid of the wrong thing. She gestured at the display showing the Prometheus Dawn. You thought the danger was our technology, our quantum fusion drive, our overbuilt systems. You saw a bomb and called it an engine. But you missed the real danger, which is, Theron asked, us, humans. We didn't make the Prometheus Dawn dangerous because we built it strong. We made it dangerous because we're the kind of species that turns life support into a weapon when our backs are against the wall, because we use our hull as a battering ram, because we'll threaten to blow ourselves up if it means taking the enemy with us. Sarah looked around the chamber at the assembled representatives. Every species in this council achieved faster than light travel through different means. Mathematics, genetic evolution, discovered artifacts, beautiful, elegant paths to the stars. We got here through stubbornness and duct tape, through trial and error, through refusing to accept that something was impossible. Rodriguez spoke up. You build your ships for efficiency, for optimal performance in controlled conditions. We build ours to survive when everything goes wrong. That's not primitive. That's practical. Your weapons are outdated, Vector argued, but his voice lacked conviction. Railguns and missiles. Kinetic weapons. The Council abandoned such technology millennia ago. You abandoned them because you evolved past the need for them, Sarah countered. Your energy weapons are incredible against other energy-based defenses. But the Krell didn't use energy defenses. They used organic armor, biological shields. Your advanced weapons were useless. Our primitive railguns worked perfectly because we never stopped using what worked. Yuki added quietly. You optimized for the threats you knew. We prepared for the threats we couldn't predict. That's the difference between evolution and survival. The council chambers were silent again. Sarah could see them processing, trying to understand how a primitive species had saved their advanced civilization. Ambassador Theron finally spoke. The council has a decision to make. Humanity's actions have proven complicated. You saved this station, saved thousands of lives, but you also demonstrated capabilities that concern us. Your willingness to risk everything, your adaptation of civilian systems as weapons, your tactical doctrine that accepts casualties and collateral damage. You're afraid of us, Sarah said flatly. Yes, Theron admitted. You represent a type of warfare we thought we had evolved beyond. You're a reminder of violent, chaotic ages we left behind. Sarah nodded slowly. I understand. You've built a peaceful galaxy. A civilized galaxy. Rules and treaties and acceptable losses. And then we show up with our ugly ships and our brutal tactics, and we remind you that peace is fragile. That civilization is a choice you make every day. That sometimes survival means getting your hands dirty. She met Theron's crystalline eyes. So make your decision. Ban us from your galaxy. Call us too dangerous to exist alongside your advanced species. We'll leave. But remember this, the Krell found you once. They'll find you again. They're evolving, adapting, learning. And next time we won't be here to save you with our primitive weapons and reckless tactics. The council deliberated for hours. Sarah and her crew waited in a conference room, watching ships move through space outside. Council vessels, elegant and beautiful, being repaired after the battle. Finally, they were summoned back. Theron spoke for the council. We have made our decision. Humanity will be granted full membership in the Galactic Council, but not as we originally intended. Sarah raised an eyebrow. We plan to accept you as junior members, species to be educated and elevated to our standards. But the battle showed us that you don't need our education. You have something we lost, the knowledge of how to fight when fighting is necessary. Admiral Vector stepped forward. The Council is offering humanity a unique position. Military consultants and defensive specialists. Your role will be to prepare us for threats we've forgotten how to face, to teach us tactics we've abandoned, to remind us that sometimes survival requires ugliness. You want us to make you dangerous, Sarah said. We want you to make us ready, Theron corrected. Ready for a galaxy that isn't always civilized. Ready for enemies who don't follow the rules. Ready to survive, not just exist. Sarah looked at her crew. Webb shrugged. Rodriguez grinned. Yuki nodded. We accept, Sarah said. On one condition. You unlock our ship completely. No restrictions. No control locks. No monitoring. That ship is too dangerous, Shareth began. You finally got something right about humans, Sarah interrupted. We're dangerous. Not because of what we build, but because we never stop finding new ways to use it. You can try to control that danger by locking down our technology, or you can accept it and let us use it to protect you. Theron's form flickered with patterns that suggested consideration. Then, agreed. The Prometheus Dawn will have full operational freedom. Then we'll teach you what you need to know, Sarah said. How to fight ugly, how to win desperate, how to survive when survival seems impossible. We'll show you that being dangerous isn't about having the most advanced technology. It's about having the will to use whatever you have however you can, to protect what matters. The council meeting ended. Sarah and her crew returned to the Prometheus Dawn. As they walked through the impound bay, Sarah noticed something different. The alien workers who had once looked at their ship with disdain and amusement now watched with a mixture of respect and fear. Good, Sarah thought. Fear was honest. Fear meant they understood. The Prometheus Dawn launched from Arcturus 7 station with full authorization and complete freedom. The ugly, overbuilt, primitive human ship that the Council had once called too dangerous to fly. They had been right. It was dangerous, but dangerous was exactly what the galaxy needed. As they jumped to FTL, Sarah received one final transmission from Admiral Vector. Captain Chen, I must ask. When you threatened to detonate your fusion core, were you really bluffing? Sarah smiled and replied, Admiral, the most dangerous thing about humans isn't what we'll do. It's that you can never be completely sure what we won't do. That uncertainty? That's our real weapon. She closed the channel and looked at her crew. All right, people. The Council wants us to teach them how to be dangerous. Let's show them what humanity's been learning since we first looked up at the stars and decided they were ours. The Prometheus Dawn vanished into faster than light, carrying its crew of dangerous, stubborn, ingenious humans toward whatever challenges the galaxy had next. And the galaxy would learn that the most dangerous species wasn't the one with the most powerful technology. It was the one that refused to quit.